If your game looks like this, or you're just struggling to see anything in Tarkov, this video is for you. And don't skip ahead because your monitor and setup will be different from mine. Stick with me here and I'll explain how to configure your game for the perfect graphics and PostFX settings this way. This will benefit your day raids, night raids, and even improve MVGs, all from just configuring your settings once. No changes, this is a one-size-suits-all scenario. Alright, let's get into it. Quickly though, here are the current settings for my setup. You can come back to this later and reference it if needed. With that out of the way, let's move to the game tab.
You can ignore everything in here apart from FOV and head bobbing. Turn head bobbing to the lowest unless you enjoy your camera shaking around everywhere, and for FOV, this is an important one. When your FOV is high, you get a wider peripheral, less camera recoil, but worse eye relief. And when your FOV is low, you have a smaller peripheral, more camera recoil, but better eye relief. And it's a bit easier to get accurate shots with a 1x. So for the majority of people, somewhere in the middle will give you the best of both worlds. But there are two main reasons you'd want to put your FOV higher or lower. Firstly, if you're someone who particularly struggles spotting people at range, then you want to play on the lowest FOV that you can handle, as this will really help bring everything on the horizon closer to you. And secondly, if you're someone that prefers to use scopes most of the time, you'll find that playing on the lower FOV will greatly help with the shadowing around your scope, which is eye relief.
Graphics settings now, starting with the top section. Resolution is preference, but I use my monitor's native res, full screen for the best performance, and borderless if you're on Windows 11 because you have this setting, which provides exclusive full screen performance whilst gaming in borderless. But overall, I'd recommend full screen for the best latency. And finally, VSync, this should always be off for the best performance. Texture quality is preference depending on your PC, so I'd recommend testing this on different maps to see what works best for you. Shadow quality, always on low for the most tactical advantage. LOD quality, you want to run this as high as your PC can handle because if you didn't know, this setting directly affects at what range PMCs render in. So with this example on woods, you can see my friend here simply disappears on the lowest LOD quality. So I tend to run mine on 3. Overall visibility, this is preference, but I play with it up quite high. Typically you can save a few frames here though, just by putting it on the lowest. Anti-aliasing is also preference, but this year I've made the switch to a 240Hz OLED monitor, and after falling in love with a higher refresh rate, I wanted more FPS in Tarkov, so naturally, DLSS got switched on and it feels real good. So we've got it set to quality and the K preset, and honestly, it looks really nice. I think if I didn't tell you that I was using DLSS, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell the difference, especially from YouTube. HBAO, I'm currently using this on high performance. This just makes my game look a little bit nicer without too much FPS loss, and surprisingly does help with visibility in some of the darkest areas. So nighttime factory or just in the woods and it's pitch black, any of those sort of scenarios, HBAO can actually help you here. As well as the next setting, SSR. You want to use this either on low or medium, depending on how good your PC is. Not many people know this, but SSR actually brightens up dark areas, as you can see from this example in Factory. I didn't notice much difference in visibility when setting SSR higher than medium. It might look a little nicer, but will cost you more frames and won't provide any more advantage. So currently, I'm using medium. Anastrophic filtering, this is a preference, but I have mine on because it makes the game look nice. It's also worth mentioning that if you do run DLSS, you can turn up some of your graphics settings that look nice because there is that little bit less of a load on your GPU. It allows you to bump up some graphics settings and compensate and make the game look nicer because you're technically rendering in a lower resolution. NVIDIA Reflex, you should always be using this if possible. It massively reduces latency and makes the game feel a lot nicer and smoother. I have it set to on at the moment, but on plus boost is good too. They both feel slightly different from each other, so test them out and see which one you prefer. Sharpness, this is an interesting one. The higher sharpness you play on, the easier you'll be able to see in dark areas, but you might struggle to spot people in grassy areas, because if you didn't know, adding sharpness makes the image a lot noisier. Personally, I have mine quite low, but test this out and see what you prefer. At the end of the day, it's whatever is preferential to your eyes and what you find comfortable for spotting people. Saying that though, I do use Luma and adaptive sharpening in PostFX because I think it's a better way to do it for the best visibility. As for the bottom section here, the street setting is the only thing I'm using for the moment for a bit of extra performance. Sometimes I enable grass shadows though as well because it just looks nice. Moving on to PostFX, just copy these settings now as a base, then we'll jump in game and I'll explain 2 ways to set up your monitor and configure all your color settings so it's more viable for Tarkov. So we've got option 1 here. This is for the NVIDIA users that just want the quick and dirty solution. The one you've probably been using for years as well, NVIDIA control panel. Now, I think the majority of people will want to use option 2 once I tell you about it, but I have to mention this anyway So option 1, open up the NVIDIA control panel, start with brightness on 50, contrast on 50, and gamma. Bump this up to about 2, and then just drag the contrast slider slowly until things start to look more visible and comfortable for your eyes. This is the first bit of general advice I tend to give for people struggling with visibility in Tarkov, but of course you can crank it up or down to your preference. You basically just want to ramp up the gamma and then compensate with contrast first and then brightness if you need. And if things still don't quite look right, go into your PostFX and move the brightness slider up and down until it looks good. The more you go into the negative brightness, the more definition that will be brought back into your game. Same with Luma Sharpen. This can be used to help bring back the contrast into Tarkov and remove that painfully hard to see washed out look. We'll come back to this in more detail though. For now, let's take a look at option 2. This is for both NVIDIA and AMD GPU gamers, and basically you can do the exact same thing you can do in NVIDIA control panel, but you can save profiles and you can put them on hotkeys, which is honestly surprising because why doesn't NVIDIA control panel have this? Anyway, cue the installation tutorial.
This software is quite old. It's a version of Riva Tuner from 2009, and it's a bit weird to install and set up, so stick with me here, otherwise you might miss something important and start having problems. Jumping straight into this now, in my Discord at the very top you will find a category called Gamma Hotkey, and in there there's a download channel. Have a read through this carefully, and if you're happy to continue, click the link, download the file, open it up, and you'll find a folder with these 2 files in. That is all you need. I've also opened a support channel in Discord. If you do come across any problems, you can reach me here. Anyway, let's get into this. If you do have MSI Afterburner or a newer version of Riva Tuner installed, close both of these first, then run the setup file, which is the orange exe. Don't worry because this won't overwrite your current installation of Riva Tuner, it just needs to be closed to install. Okay, back to the installation now. Run the setup, select your language, click next, accept the terms, destination folder you can put wherever you want, and click install. Make sure you install the available updates of Riva Tuner, otherwise this program will not work properly, so click yes. Now we can uncheck protect memory mapped IO ports because this is to do with an old Punkbuster anti-cheat system and Tarkov doesn't use that, so we don't need it. And we don't want it to take up additional resources, so untick and just click next. And now we can just click finish. This part will take a while because it needs to build the database, so just let it sit and I'll come back to you when it's done. So it's been installed successfully, click OK. And this is what the software looks like. Straight away here, I'm going to go into settings and do send to tray on close so that it doesn't disappear. And you can also have it set to run on startup, which I do. And then we go up to the main tab at the top again. This drop down here is where you want to select your main monitor. And notice it shows up for both AMD and NVIDIA here. It should be, your main display should always be the one at the top and you shouldn't need to select anything different. And then click customize here. Then we're going to click into the low level desktop color schemes. And this is the panel where we can start adjusting our gamma. So straight away here, what we're going to do is just save a default one and call it default. That means we're always going to have something to go back to. Right, now we can start playing around. So you see we increase the gamma here and it turns it really far up. You can really fry this thing if you want to. Let's just say I want to do one for maybe 1.5 and then we'll increase the contrast a little bit as well. And then we save this one and we call it gamma 1. Cool, so now that's saved. Now we can switch from default to gamma 1 to see the difference. And let's just say we're going to do another one, a bit higher gamma. We'll say 2.2 and then we'll increase the contrast once more to maybe 14 and we'll call it gamma 2. Now it's probably best to do this in game so you can see the effects of these things and we will do that here in a second. For now, let's just do apply and OK. Then we're going to go into the launcher tab, click the plus icon, regular item and OK. Now this will take a moment. The application hasn't froze. As I said before, it is really old. It just takes a moment to load this next window. So don't panic, just wait and it will pop up. There we go. So we're going to call this first one default. Associated hotkey, you can just click on the box and then press whatever hotkey you want. I'm just going to do insert because it's top right on my keyboard. Select associated color schemes. And as you can see from this drop down, these are the ones we made earlier. Default, gamma 1 and gamma 2. So this is the default one. So we're going to leave it on default. Click OK, and then we're going to add another one, regular item, and now we're going to call this one gamma 1, and I'm going to do page up, associated color scheme, and gamma 1. You get the picture now. And then we're going to add another item, wait for this to load once again. Okay, here we go, and finally, gamma 2. You can have as many of these as you want, but I'm just going to stick with 3 for now, associated color scheme, and gamma 2. Okay, apply. Now, if we click OK, that will then minimize to our tray. You can see it's still open here. As long as it's open, these profiles will work. And now if I hit my hotkeys, you can see this is gamma 1, this is gamma 2, and I can go back to default. So this is gamma 1, and you can see already that is a tremendous increase in visibility. And we'll turn that off again and then back on. Yeah, and then we can increase it even more with gamma 2. And yeah, the game is absolutely fried right now. Let me show you how you can customize this a little bit more. So I'm going to reset this to default now. and we'll open up Reaver Tuner. So again, we're going to go to customize now. Now, the good thing is we already have all of our hotkeys set. If you want to update, say gamma 1, for example, maybe we want to make the gamma a little bit higher, we can do that. And then all we need to do is click save and then do it as gamma 1. Apply, and then that means gamma 1 profile is now updated to whatever you just saved the settings to.
Finally, we can talk a bit more about PostFX and break down everything you need to know to set up the best experience for your monitor. Starting with brightness, this is the main thing that will add more definition to your game when you go into the negative values. This also counters the flashlight meta by reducing its brightness, and if you do run NVGs, it's going to help with that too. There is no right or wrong value here, since you can do some really wacky setups, but essentially increase or decrease the value until it looks comfortable for you. If you do find your game is too dark, that's okay. Just tweak the gamma and control panel or Reaver Tuner again until you're happy. For now, I'm running -10. Saturation, similar to brightness, this can add more definition to your game by reducing the value. I'd recommend starting with -100 for the visibility buff and colorfulness up to the max. And that was good for me, but from this point, if your game is still lacking color, you can increase the saturation slider gradually, as you can get away with it up to a point before it starts to nuke your visibility. The best thing you can do is actually increase the colors from outside the game, because that doesn't change how the game renders. I'm not sure whatever digital vibrance is called in AMD software, saturation maybe, but you'll 100% have something. But yeah, crank the colors up outside of your game and you won't be nuking your visibility in-game. And if you can't find the software for your GPU/monitor, you can always just press the buttons on the back of your monitor and turn the colors up there. Again, that doesn't change the way the game renders, so that is the way you want to do it. Whilst we're on the topic, with colorfulness, if you're playing negative saturation, you can use this, but if not, then test it out in the dark areas especially, because it could be ruining your visibility. Clarity, this is an important one too. It adds a lot of detail to the game, gives better vision in fog at range, and also reduces the effect of flashlights, making them a lot easier to fight against. Luma Sharpen, again, this will add more definition to the game. It helps outline anything the light touches and also helps against flashlights slightly. The more you increase it, the more visibility you get, but if you increase it too much, you might not be able to see anything. So it's a fine balance between what works and your preference. Adaptive Sharpen, this is also quite good. Test it out and see if you like it. Currently I'm using it set to 5. If I turn it up too high, it does nuke my recordings, so that's what I'm running for now. Okay, so this is the core settings out of the way. I haven't even spoken about color grading yet, but this is a cool one. So with this setup, because we're using negative brightness, we're adding a lot of definition to the game that wasn't previously there. That means you can pair this setup with literally any color grading filter you like, and you only need to increase the intensity a small amount to get a completely new look to your game. And if you found a filter that you like, but the game's starting to get too washed out or it's reducing visibility, simply decrease the brightness more until you're satisfied. But these are the settings running now, really happy with it, super clean. But overall, it does all the right things and it really does help me see more, so I'm not completely injuring my eyeballs in Tarkov. You can also pair this with the colorblind mode. Tritanopia is commonly used for people who want to make the grass look a bit more green, but I don't bother using this. Anyway guys, this has been my updated guide and full breakdown to settings in PostFX and Tarkov. I hope this has been helpful. Share this one with the homies if it helps you out. And if you've got any questions, Discord link down below, or come catch me live. Anyway, big love everyone. I will catch you next time.